This is Dropped on Soccer's morning show. John here, you there. It's a full show. It's a full week, really, to be perfectly honest with you. And I was trying to figure out, and by the way, greetings from, once again, the North Georgia mountains, and greetings once again from a place that has no running water. For those of you that missed that yesterday, because of the storms that happened Monday night, it caused a water main break up here where the boss, the Rowdy Man, and I are having our summer vacation week. So they said that we're going to try and repair it, and it's supposed to be done by midnight tonight. So we'll see what happens, see if they meet their deadline, see if they get there early. But it is day 2 of no running water, and so it is the opportunity for me to go racing and trying to find a convenience store or a grocery store that actually has the big jugs of water, and trying to sit here and function that way and cook and all those kinds of things. So day 2, no running water. Hopefully it won't turn into day 3 by the time we catch up tomorrow. Busy show. Tyler Pilgrim dropping in at 9:15. And since it is a Wall Pass Wednesday, obviously whatever's on your mind we discuss, and whatever's on our mind we discuss. There's a lot of stuff going on in Europe. Don't know if we're going to be getting to it, but Jarrett is dropping in. And Jarrett, I know that you are kind of drifting in and out because of the real world and stuff. Tyler is going to be joining us in and around 9:15. We'll see what cup of coffee he is on. And I was explaining that we are in day 2 of no running water up here in the Mountain Casa for the week. Yeah. So they said hopefully it would be fixed by midnight tonight. We'll see if they meet their deadlines. But since you are here on a temporary basis, obviously the lead is Atlanta United getting bumped out of US Open Cup by Indy 11 last night, 2-1. Yep. And the pre-match conversations that we had with Carlos Bocanegra, he had a media scrum ahead of time to discuss the state of what's going on in and around the roster, and then catching up with Rob Valentino after the fact, now that we've had the sum total of not quite 12 hours to think about it. What did you think about it?
You blew it.
Yep.
That's what I think about it. I think I have preached efficiently for the last month and a half that Open Cup was where you should focus your efforts. It was your easiest path to a trophy. You had Indy 11 at home. You had a road game against one of 2 flawed teams with a chance to get to a final.
Yep.
And you blew it. You choked it. It's what it is, man. And it wasn't even just like failure from the kids, which I wondered if you lost might be the thing that doomed you, because you were going to have to rotate due to schedule compression.
Right.
You're in a tough stretch of away games right now, and you came back home for this one. Like you went to Massachusetts for the Revs. You went up to play RSL, which is.
And this is what happens when people try to call Jarrett in the real world. Continue.
What?
I was going to say, when folks try to call you and they bump into your line.
Oh, yeah. So, like, RSL is a tricky place to play, not just because, like, they're good, but even when they haven't been good, it's a tricky place to play because of the altitude. And it's one of those things where, like, it's not as drastic as Commerce City,
yeah,
but it still affects people, and I think it can have a knock-on effect in the next game. And I think we saw it with a couple of guys where, like, they were starting to drag later in that game and didn't really have it in them to, like, push harder for the first goal or then for the second goal. You didn't have as many attacking options as I would have liked to see on the bench, and that might have just been availability.
Mm-hmm.
But it was also some of the same song, just in a different key.
Yeah.
Like, that first goal is triggered because Tristan Muyamba cannot corral a ball that is not that complicated. Heavy touch leads to a turnover, leads to a break. And then Augie Williams puts it away. And at that point, Indy's going to pack it in.
Mm-hmm.
When you scored, that's the first goal they've given up in US Open Cup this season. They've been very good defensively. And you watched them last night. They throw themselves in front of everything. They do not care. I think Opta registered them as 3 blocked shots. whoever was doing that for Opta, I don't know what game they were watching. I think they blocked like 5 or 6. I don't think they would have been like high quality chances shots, but they were throwing themselves in front of stuff, not letting it become a problem. It was well done. That's not, and like, none of this is to take anything away from Indy 11. Like they did their job. Atlanta
Yeah.
gave them opportunities, and they took advantage of it. That's on Atlanta, but it's a massive missed opportunity because of where you were in the cup, because of the path laid out before you. It's a big missed opportunity, man. And I thought talking last night about it, that yeah, you were gonna have to lean on the kids. And here's the thing, man, the kids won't be perfect, and you're gonna have to lean on the kids a lot more this year. It's just where you are in the roster. As Carlos Bocanegra talked before the match about the transfer situation right now. We know Amada's in Brazil. We know. I think Caleb is like the worst kept secret in the world at this point. And I say secret because it's not officially confirmed, but everybody knows what's up.
Reports are out, and we're just not official.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's not officially done, but they're working towards finishing something. But he's going to the Olympics anyway.
Yep.
So last night it sucks that Caleb Wiley's last performance was in a loss. And I think he gave you what he could. He went with Matthew Edwards, and hey, man, Edwards was really good, I thought, in that game. Edwards did a damn good job, given the situation. Yeah, man, it was not great, Bob. It was just it was kind of like another punch in the gut. And see, here's the thing, and to Pars's thing about might have been the determining factor for Rob being coach. I don't know, man. Maybe, but also I will once again caution everybody that when everybody was ready to determine whether or not Rob was going to be the guy, I said you got to consider what he's going to be working with. And last night he had not a full starting lineup, and I get it's Open Cup, but like he also did not have much in the way of attacking subs off the bench. It was Daniel Rios, who did not have a lot in the tank, and Luke Brennan, who was good. Shande wasn't available. Okay, Shande hasn't been great. I think you're trying to make do with what you've got, but it's not like he's it's not like he's been handed the same team that was there in April and been asked to get better results. He's working with what he's working with right now, and I think you're gonna see results that struggle at times. Are you gonna get some wins? Yeah, probably. I mean, you've already got DC under the belt. Toronto was hilarious for a multitude of reasons. Montreal's gonna be a pain in the ass to go play. That's a long flight. It's gonna be a long, hard little slog here, getting to Leagues Cup and then through Leagues Cup break. But you just kind of have to embrace the fact that it's going to suck, because there's not really anything you can do about it except like what Rob said last night, which is they have to pick themselves up. They'll have to deal with that. So, but yeah, man, it was. I feel awful for Dax for the second goal. Because you get the counter going, and it's one of those situations where like you're always going to risk giving up that second goal because you're pushing so hard for the first goal, and because you put yourself in a bad situation. And then Dax just kind of turns into his net. It's just awful luck. I hate it for Dax because that's possibly his last Open Cup.
Right.
It sucks that like his Open Cup run as a player might end on that. That is the universe can go screw itself if they're going to hand somebody like Dax that card for their last Open Cup game. That's bullshit from the universe. I don't really care. Yeah, man. This was a game where Tristan needed to show me something, because I was very critical of him after the RSL game. And it wasn't just the turnover that led to the first goal. There's a sequence in this game that stuck out to me. There's a sequence in this game where there's two 50-50 balls in about 45 seconds time. One 50-50 ball features Jay Fortune. I don't think he wins it at straight out, but he basically dives in like an angry badger.
Yep.
And doesn't allow the Indy 11 player to win it cleanly and fully contest the ball. I think it bounces to someone else, but he doesn't allow him to settle it and turn and win it cleanly. Second 50-50 ball, it falls to William Ba, who's defending it. Does not, he backs off, lets the guy control it, and then tries to square up on him to defend him. And you got to fight for this. Man, you're playing a USL team in those situations. They got exactly what they needed, which was the early lead so that they could pack it in and not have to stretch their legs out. You got to fight for every ball. Things aren't going your way. You got to fight for every ball. Everything has to be contested. You're on a bad run right now, man.
Mm-hmm.
You lost up in New England, which sucked. New England's kind of weird in that they're below everybody on the table, but I think they've won like 4 of 6 now.
Caleb Porter found 4 wins in a row. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. I don't know if I consider them good or not, but they've hit a good run. Whatever. Columbus was the only roadblock they hit, and then they smashed into it like a crash test dummy.
Yeah.
Then you went out to RSL. You played them great for 45 minutes, and then you spit the bit for the next 45 minutes. Things aren't going well. You have to fight for every ball, man. You can't be backing out of 50-50 balls. You have to go in on an 80-20 ball where you're the 20. You don't have to go suicidal in there. But if it's a loose ball, if it's a long goal kick, you got to contest it, man. That annoyed me probably more than the not controlling the pass. Well, I know it led to a goal, but man, you gotta fight. You got to, because Nick Firmino talked about it after the match, John.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is coming difficult for this team. The other team is scoring easy goals from mistakes like that turnover, and you're having to work twice as hard to get a goal. So you need to fight for everything.
Yeah.
Because if you do, who knows? Maybe you fight for that loose ball. Who knows where it bounces?
Yeah, make your own.
It might bounce to the other team. Jay Fortune might get stuck in on a challenge, contest it, and it ricochets off someone's foot to the other team. Tough shit. It happens. That's gonna happen. But you get stuck in on that challenge, maybe it bounces somewhere different, man. You gotta challenge those 50-50 balls. You have to fight for everything. And those moments last night where he wasn't the only one, where guys aren't getting into a 50-50 challenge, kill me when you're struggling, because you have to keep fighting, because it will not solve itself.
Hi,
anyway,
Tyler.
Hi, Tyler.
Hello. How are y'all?
Jarrett was getting in his rant because the real world is. Yeah.
I'm angry at Tristan and at basically anybody who didn't fight for 50-50 balls last night.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because on the way home last night, in my hour-plus long drive home,
Right there with you, brother.
Yeah, we were doing our spaces, and we kind of got into a conversation about like just the way the team looked and the overall kind of vibe that they gave off. And I don't think it's ever a conversation of like, is the team not collectively trying? Because we go out there, we see them in training, we see them, busting their rear ends and everything. But you can still be trying really hard and just not looking like you're trying as hard as you probably are. But Tristan Miyamba was, I don't know, I got called out as a hot take last night saying that Tristan Miyamba has been your least effective midfielder for most of this season.
That ain't a hot take, brother. Whoever told you that lied to you.
I won't say names.
That's fine. He hasn't been that. Like the 50-50 balls, the turnover that led to the first goal, man. Like, he needed to show me something last night. He didn't, and yeah.
I agree. I totally agree.
Positioning on a corner in RSL.
I mean, you
where,
have the missed pass last night. I mean,
you
it
know,
was
It's just
very
you can't have that.
inconsistent.
yeah, no,
You
and
can't have
when
those things when you're struggling like this.
yeah, and you're in this idea of having to make your own luck and continue to try and push and I think that there are times in we see it like last night where you see guys that are trying, but they're in there. They get. I think that sometimes they get into that idea of, okay, I'm thinking too much. I don't want to make a mistake. And because they're thinking too much and they're trying too hard, they end up making the mistake. And so it's like you can almost see at times, you can almost see the guys thinking out there. And you don't want this to be a game of thought. You want it to be a game of act, react. Rob was talking about making sure that when you've got possession and a team is smashed in like Indy 11 was, you've got to pass quickly. You've got to sit there and you've got to make that decision. You've got to make the switch. You've got to sit there and make those connections. And it seems like there's almost too much thought going on out there right now because you don't want things to go wrong. You don't want to make the mistake. You put too much thinking into it, and then you make a mistake.
And it's to add on to that, like you don't have muscle memory at that point because that's one thing in any high performing endeavor, sport, whatever. You train and you train and you train until it becomes muscle memory, and then you don't have to think about it. It just happens. And I think that's, to Muyumba and the midfield's defense, like he especially is not being asked, at least this is how it seems to me, but he is not being asked to play as a traditional midfielder, like a traditional number 8. He's everywhere in the way that a number 8 should be. But this team loves to build up on the wings. They have for a couple of years now. It started especially with Pineda, but I mean, they're highly effective at getting into the final third.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what they do from there that is lacking immensely, especially right now. And part of the reason that they're so effective in getting into the final third is because they create numerical superiority on one side, and that comes with Muyumba drifting over one side or the other. But then that leaves your actual midfield really incapable of doing what midfields are supposed to do. And that's something I think to me, it stood out a lot last night. Watching every attack go down one wing and it would stall out. They don't have a big guy in the box anymore that's going to fight for those crosses that are going to be coming in. That was primarily one of your better ways to create chances last year when you had Yakimakis. And it's just not happening right now. So now you don't have the midfield that I think is capable of just going and playing their game on muscle memory and playing through the spine. It's very predictable. And then you end up with a guy like Muyumba who's kind of just the punching bag for everybody because he feels almost misplaced on the pitch at times.
Jarrett, when you look at all of this, also we talk about lineups and game state and all these kinds of things. You can have all the practices at the Children's Healthcare Atlanta training ground you want, but then when you have the lineups that you have that you're having to juggle and sit there and figure out, okay, if I do this here, and this here, I have to keep an eye out for this matchup, and this matchup down the calendar. The idea of these relationships that you have in practice versus game state, it's entirely two different things that you're having to deal with here. It's like, yeah, I know what the guy's going to do at practice, but then when you're in game state, it's entirely different, and you have those battles that you have to fight as well.
Look, I mean, it's you don't have to worry about Open Cup anymore.
No.
So there's that. Still got Leagues Cup,
mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't be surprised if you get out of Leagues Cup. If you told me, because both games are at Mercedes-Benz,
right?
You seem to have learned the lesson last time of Christian Benteke.
Yeah.
I know you don't have Thiago Almada hitting golazos, but I think you can get something out of at least one of those games and get through Leagues Cup and get into knockouts. But
And then give me Cruz Azul in Mercedes-Benz. That's what I want.
He's not going to be there anyway. He's hurt.
That's true.
He's not going to be there anyway because he's hurt. Because he got hurt in the first 10 minutes of his game.
That's true. Yes, I remember that. Yes, I remember that video.
Like at this point, like I said earlier, man, you're just you're kind of going game to game right now. You see what you can do in the window, and then you have to grind it out here. You have to find a way to get through this, and guys should be busting their asses because at the end of the day, whatever their contract situation, they're going to be playing for food on the table this year and next year and in the future. Because it's a bunch of guys who are still have careers ahead of them, wherever that may be, whether here or elsewhere. So they need to be busted tail. You need to be getting stuck in on things. You need to be fighting for each other, and it's tough. And it kind of, I think the thing that stuck out with me from the RSL game, where like at the end of the game, where it seemed like guys were just on autopilot, and then it was like, Noah landing someone on the ground, Luke chasing the ball down like a cat chasing a laser pointer.
Yep.
It reminded me of, but it made me think about the video they released, the behind the scenes video of when Noah's the one speaking up in the locker room. Like, I love that he's willing to do that. I love that he has that dog in him as a leader. It shouldn't be just him. It shouldn't be just the kids having to do. We shouldn't be in a situation where we are asking the kids to be the spark. It's great that they're willing to do it. They're going to lack consistency because they're kids, because they're teenagers. I love what they bring to the table. They shouldn't be having to carry that load. And that means that guys other than Brad and Dax got to look in the mirror.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the fact that you have Noah, and I've mentioned it on here before, but, he's the first one out to training every single day. And that is not an exaggeration at all. A lot of senior players could take an example from Noah Cobb. But like you said, Jarrett, it shouldn't be that way. And yeah, I mean, like Brad, he's going to do his thing. Dax, we've seen him do his thing. And I still contend, look, I feel so bad for Dax after last night. But I thought he had a great game.
There's no reason the universe should have handed Dax an own goal to end his Open Cup legacy.
Yeah.
That's the bullshit from the universe.
Yeah, I agree.
Hit the reset button, man.
At some point, it's all got to come back full circle, and things have got to start going their way at some point, like, especially for Dax. Like, that was tough. And, because I do feel like when he came on, he completely changed the game and helped Atlanta kind of settle in a little bit more, especially after our first 45 that was just very, very demoralizing and uninspired. And, but it can't just be him. I mean, I've preached forever, like, I want the captain to be a midfielder just because I feel like they're the most effective place to contribute to the game, both obviously as a player and then as a captain and a leader. When Dax comes on, he does that, but he's 37. He's not playing every match. And we know this. So you've got other players that are going to have to step up. Like the guys with European experience, bring that to the forefront and say, look, flex a little bit. Like I've done it over there. I've been there, like you got Slish. He's perennial champion for 4 years straight. You got Pedro Amador coming in. Hopefully he can say, look, I've been through the relegation battle. I've been through the promotion battle in European soccer. So I can bring you something and don't come in with the whole, I don't want to step on toes mindset anymore. I understand where that comes from. Absolutely. But dude, come in, take charge and give this team a couple of captains that are going to work well together and lead them somewhere that they're not at right now.
I wonder, and this is me thinking out loud with any kind of empirical evidence, I wonder how different Major League Soccer is for a Saba Lobjanidze, for, who was in the battles in the Turkish Super League, for a Bart Sliech, who was dealing with European football at Legia Warsaw. And I mean, dealing with in the sense of both domestic and European competitions. How different it is for a Stian Gregerson to come in from a team that is currently battling its own solvency overseas, plus Ligue 2, plus Ligue 1. I wonder, and this might be a question for them next time that they're in front of the microphones, is just how different is it? How much of an adjustment is it? How, with the mindsets that you had in your old addresses in the address book, how different of an adjustment is it to play in Major League Soccer and be in this kind of a situation? And how different was it for a guy like Yorgos Akamakis to have this kind of conversation? How different is it to me? And that's just something that's popped into my head this morning, Jarrett.
Well, for all of I know it's kind of become like the thing where we have brought out the little Papa Shot net and put it over Gigi, and a lot of people have taken turns dunking on him.
Right.
He did compete the man won a golden boot during a relegation fight and lost the relegation fight and won the boot. I thought last year Gigi did bring some of that sandpaper that you needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He would go plant someone in the ground. He would yell at people. And I thought he brought that, and you're missing something like that right now. You are missing having you need some dogs. Not some cats, as the great philosopher of Coastal Carolina once said.
Yes.
I'll need some cats there looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to figure out how you're going to put it together the rest of the way. Due to I see everybody in the Discord or the Twitch page.
Well, you're not far off with the word that you've used, even if the channel is different. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, you're as far as like, what are you going to do with the roster? Well, you got 2 DP spots to work with. And I know so here's my thing with the idea of like, wait for the manager before you fill those spots. We don't know how far along they are in that process.
Right.
So these days, big managers tend to stay places, 3-4 years, and then tend to wander on. Like, it's not as consistent that they stay in one place for a long time. So it's kind of hard to like build a team specifically for one person when they might only stay for a couple years, even when it's going well. It's tricky, but you're gonna have 2 DP spots to fill. Going into the off season, you should have more U22 spots, 2 of them at least, maybe 3 if you offload Edwin, which going into the season, I thought Edwin was going to stick because of the way he finished 2023 as like your super sub, basically, which was fine. He was great at that. 2024 has not been it for him. And I think you reevaluate the Edwin Mosquera situation and you see what you can do there. So you'll have 2 DP spots now. The thing is, buying down. You're not going to buy down Stian right now. Once again, I know it's like we throw the label around, but like you had multiple DP level spent guys. He was just the one you chose not to buy down. For however the cap works, he did. The cap people did cap people things. But you'll have U22s to play with next year, and you'll have 2 DP spots to play with now, and a lot of money. And I think my hope is that when you are shopping, you are looking in a category financially where you go get somebody or somebodies who they aren't necessarily system reliant.
Yeah.
You just go get somebody who's going to get on field, and you just get him on the field, and you just point him at a direction and say go, and go get me that, and then they just do it. I think you're shopping in a financial category where that's more doable than say, some of the other clubs in this league are in. Like Philadelphia, because Philadelphia just refuses to spend money.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a grind because it ain't good, and I don't know when it gets better right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think with the U22 spots too, I think, and hopefully we see this a little bit more from Garth because of his philosophy and his ideas. And I see everybody in the Twitch pitch, like I get it. The patience right now, it's tough to come by. It's really frustrating. It's really frustrating. After last night, I've said it a million times. That was the best chance you had at a trophy in 5
Hands
years.
down.
And you ruined it. Like, I don't know what's going to happen with the Open Cup next year or in the future, but you crapped the bed last night in the game where it really mattered. And it sucks. It freaking sucks. It couldn't have come at a worse time, honestly. Like, you've got guys going out, and then you're not quite to the transfer window to where you can bring guys in. It definitely freaking sucks. I just think I don't know what else you can do right now until those new players come in. And I do agree with what you're saying, Jarrett. Like, going back to what I was going to say about the U22s, you've got to find guys. Garth's philosophy has to be the U22s. You can take a big risk on if that's the route he decides to go out, and that's where you want to use the whole, like, let's go find that South American talent or whoever, not South American in general, but that very young talent.
Jamal, come on down.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Bring that
22.
guy on. You know, he may be super rough around the edges. He may be surviving on raw talent and Mountain Dew for most of his training sessions, but he can come in the 60th minute and just give you something totally different. The DP spots have to be like what you said, Jarrett, guys that they can drop in anywhere. They can adapt, and they can go out and they can pick a game up when nobody else wants to and make a change. And that's the struggle right now with whoever Garth and Boca decide to bring in. They have to be real game changers. They have to be real game changers, but also the rest of the team has to step up because you can't go forward looking like you did last night. I don't care if you've got, Messi on your team or whoever. You've got to individually be better than what you were last night.
Yeah, it was a matter of, for me, like the Muyenba thing, and like I'm gonna find someone else to pick on other than him, because like, it wasn't just him. Like, there were other guys where it just kind of felt like the lack of urgency was there, almost like they expected to find that breakthrough and then for things to just start clicking, and it just didn't. Sometimes you got to force that issue, and it wasn't there. No, I think it was. I know somebody mentioned, like, it seemed like only Morales and Gregerson were pushing, and they played their ass off. I'll say I think Jay ran out of gas late. I think he was early in the game pushing hard and trying to make things happen. I think he ran out of gas by the end of the game. Same with Firmino. Firmino looked winded when he was coming down where we were in the auxiliary press box down in the corner. Hey, Maddie.
With air conditioning.
Yeah, it actually was really nice because the broadcast booth had like no air conditioning. They were dying up there. But when they were coming down our way, man, like the looks on some of their faces were gassed looks. I think they just ran out of gas pushing when they weren't able to find it. And you're just kind of working there. You're at that point, you're working the ball around trying to find something, and it's not there because Indy is just fine building a wall right there because you put yourself in a bad situation.
And I will say, I thought that Saba had a great performance last night. Saba was hustling it, but there were a couple times, and that was the one thing I think I turned I think to Jarrett, and I was like, why are we pushing back? Like, it felt like every time we had a counterattack, we would push forward and then we'd bring the ball right back. And it could be because the connection's off. That's something that Jarrett told me when we were kind of discussing it in the booth. It's like kind of at some points, like, being a little selfish. There were a couple moments where I thought Saba could have taken the ball, run with it, and then just like shot it. But instead, he kind of went back and kind of like waited for the next pass, but that allowed for Indy 11 to push up, and you were already behind. And so that was difficult too. And then it really sucks about Moyumba, because I thought him and Fortune in the last couple of games when they played together, I thought they had a really good connection. But now it just like I don't know what's going on. I have no idea what's going on with that.
I mean, I think a lot of that is the chemistry, because you're in such a situation now where you, as a team, you did build your team around some of the players that are now gone. Like Gigi and Almada were two vital pieces to the way this team fundamentally wanted to play. They're gone. You don't have a true like-for-like replacement for either one of them. So what do you do when you have to be, I'm going to say it again, pragmatic? You go and...
But your definition of pragmatic is not the one that is the negative attachment that is normally associated with that word.
Pragmatic, you got to figure out a way to make it work. And even if it's different than what you've been doing. Well, when you're in a rut as a soccer team and things just are not going your way, one really cool thing that you can do is try to play some counterattacking soccer. And I know it's ugly. And it may not stick to your identity as much. But the one key facet of playing counterattacking soccer is your front three, mostly. They've got to be on the same page. And you don't have the chemistry right now, especially in an Open Cup game where you're kind of piece parted together anyway. Everybody just looked a little off. I mean, there were a couple of breaks where Nick Firmino, he slowed things down, and Saba was trying to hustle ahead, vice versa, and they were just never quite on the same page. There was one, where the ball was played forward into plenty of space, but there was just way too much on it, and it's just little things like that where you could have nicked a goal much earlier and played maybe to the strengths that you did have. And it just, again, the chemistry is just not there because the three front players hardly ever play matches together.
Maddie Cruz, Tyler Pilgrim, Jarrett Smith hanging out with us here in hour number one as we break down what happened last night with Atlanta United getting bounced from Open Cup by Indy 11 by the final of 2-1. Goal by Nick Firmino late. Chance, another chance late by Ronald Hernandez goes into side netting. Jarrett, go for it.
And to Tyler's point, I'll tell you what I told Henry last night about Saba is, and I like Saba. I think whenever you build out these DP spots, if you tell me that Saba is the third option, I think you're talking about one of the better third options in the league. I don't think he is a guy that is right now consistent enough to be the guy. Like you will get games like you got in Miami, and he has that in his bag. But I don't think it's there all the time. But if you however you rebuild this, you go get a new 10, a new 9. You go get someone else for the left wing, because right now, Sean De Silva has decided he is not going to lock it down. I think if you can rebuild all that, Saba as a guy who can just pop up and be great but doesn't have to be great every time is absolutely brilliant.
And you can't rely on him.
Big guy, yeah.
Yeah. You look at last night. If you go and look at, especially in the first half, but just when he was on the field, he was there for 60 minutes ish.
Efforting. Hang on. 70. Rios came in the 72nd.
Okay. So again, I go back to what I said earlier, but this team, obviously, they're going to build up out on the wings, which is what they do. That's fine. It's the final product that's lacking. But Indy didn't take long to figure out they could push more guys out wide, lock Saba, and I guess in the beginning you had Efrain and whoever was playing kind of on that right side, and the same with Caleb and Tyler on the other side. They can lock down the wings themselves by essentially using the touchline, which is a winger's advantage against them, because you can't push forward, and then your midfield is, to the other point we were making, non-existent and not able to really play through. And so then every attack just stopped and recycled, and it took, moments of somebody just doing something fun or playing the ball over the top or just wearing Indy 11 down before you actually made any real progress. And Saba can't be the only guy to take on 2 or 3 guys by himself. He tries, and I give him credit for trying, but that's not the mark of a good team. That's the mark of a guy who's trying to pick the team up on his back and do what he can. But that's rare that happens. It's very rare.
Maddie, what else is on your mind from last night since you were late? You were the latest in this the fatal 4-way here this morning to jump in. What else is stuck in your mind?
Oh gosh, I don't know what else you talked about. I'm trying to think of.
It doesn't matter because we can always circle back through, and if there's stuff that oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. So.
Oh god, I'm trying to think. It's just. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it, at least from my, I think Tyler hit the nail on the head. I think Jarrett also hit the nail on the head yesterday too. It's a chemistry thing. I think, you're having those moments. You just don't have a solid consistency as to who's going to be up there right now. I will say, I mean, I really did think that I thought Matt Edwards had a phenomenal game last night. I thought when he came into the match, he really was a standout for me. I thought he did very well. And I mean, I really do. I think the homegrowns have really kind of put their stamp on the team and been like, hey, I'm a contender and I'm here. And I think that's really cool. Gosh, I don't know. It was a game where it just kind of felt like there was not a lot of chemistry and it just kind of fell flat. And it felt flat for me. And, after that first goal, I kind of in my mind, I was like, I don't know if we're going to get this one back. I was like, I don't know if we are, because what Indy 11's going to do. They're going to bunker.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they got that goal, that was it. They're going to sit back. They're not really going to try and press anything. They're going to let Atlanta come to them, let them make a mistake, then try to go forward. But they're going to bunker in the entire time. And so then at that point, and I think Nick said it best, you didn't want them to score a goal first, and they did. And how you respond to that. And and we just couldn't respond. And it fell flat for me. But hey, you're dealing with a lot, and I don't want to use it as an excuse because, I don't know, but I just don't want to. But I mean, you did lose 2 DP spots.
Mm-hmm.
And potentially Wiley will be gone. He's already off, actually, to the Paris Olympics right now.
So he's Olympics bound. And
he's Olympics bound right now.
That we know. That is factual. There are reports about teams, and yes, they are probably some of the worst kept secrets out there. But right now, they are reports.
But
Boca did say imminent, though, so you can take that for what it's worth.
A move is imminent to a location. Once again, probably some of the worst kept secrets out there, but there was no illusion yesterday in a press conference about a location. There was no mention. Carlos Bocanegra did say that he's also in conversation with 15 different teams right now, but various and sundry other things. Yes, there are worst kept secrets about locations and desires and financials and all this kind of stuff. But as of right now, Caleb Wiley is Paris bound and probably heading someplace else.
Yeah,
Deals.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I just you lost that obviously with the departure of Gonzalo Pineda as well. You're kind of in a weird state right now of who you have, who you don't have, and just kind of trying to fill the spots. And it's hard. It's hard right now. It's hard to really do that. And it's a difficult time, especially it came at a time where it was just so difficult because you couldn't bring anybody in. You can't really do much because the transfer window isn't until next week.
18th.
18th.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't think I was crazy. It definitely was next week. Okay. The
longest 8 days ever.
Literally. And it sucks because you had a couple of games that were pivotal, and it's hard because you're already dealing with a rotation that's so compact. You don't have a lot to work with in itself. And then you're rotating players in and out. You have I want to feel like we've had 3 double match weeks this month. It feels like it has been.
We're only 10 days into it. We're only 10 days into the month of July, and we've already had 3 double match.
Like, I mean, seriously.
I know.
Seriously.
What a week, huh? Lemon.
Yeah.
Like, geez, I don't know. I just it's hard to build that, but like, I mean, that is a big factor in it. It's a huge factor. We don't have those slots filled yet. They've been gone. I think GG leaving, that one kind of happened. I felt like it impacted us a little bit, but I thought we got the footing working a little bit because we still had Tiago.
Yeah.
Now Tiago's gone, and it's filling that spot.
Yeah. So basically, if you look at it in a basketball sense, you don't have your big man in the middle, and you don't have a point guard, and you're trying to figure out your offense without a point guard.
I know that offense. I watched the Hawks through the early and mid 2000s.
Oh no. Yeah, I don't know.
The most insufferable person ever if the Hawks ever win a title. You need to know that now.
Nothing wrong with that.
I'm going to talk so much shit. I'm going to cut more promos than I know what to do with. Just know that that's happening.
Hey, nothing wrong with cutting promos. Absolutely nothing wrong with cutting promos.
Yeah, that's just me. That's my take. I don't know. It's difficult. I feel like you building that. It's hard because a lot of these players know each other pretty well, but that's different from on-field stuff.
We may be getting a visit from the busiest man in the Northeast, Dylan Butler, coming up at the top of the hour, 10:30. Carlos Rubio, the head coach at Hickory FC, as we get ready for the NPSL playoffs today. Coach Rubio joining us on a match day, 10:45. Willie Davis, the head coach of North Carolina Courage's U23s, is there in the Final Four. On the right-hand side of the bracket, they're going to take on Tennessee SC in the USL-W national semifinals. We'll catch up with him at 10:45. We're going to have Logan Fisher on the show Friday morning, bright and you-know-what early. Looks like Logan's going to be joining us at 9 o'clock to start hour number 2 on Friday. Weekend Whip Around will start things off at 8 o'clock Eastern because they kick us out of the house at 10. So 8 to 10 on Friday, but that's the rest of the rundown for today. Very, very busy show. Very, very busy week. And Tyler, you had a really good question at the end of the Carlos availability that I wanted to circle back to, and it had to do with the conversations about coaches coming into a situation while you're trying to bring in players. And I thought that was a good question to ask Carlos. And, you know, it's the chicken and egg conversation. It's like, okay, well, do we build the team without a coach? Do we have a coach? Do we build a team? And it's one of those things that you can't, you've got to juggle a transfer window that is offset from the world calendar as the world calendar is getting ready for their matches, plus an Olympics and all these different kinds of things that you had to deal with. I just thought it was a good piece of insight when it comes to building franchises right now in Major League Soccer.
You know, I was hoping for maybe a little more of an answer, like a little more of, I guess, like an elaborate answer, which you never know. You know, it's a press conference. You're not going to sit down and have like an exclusive, right? But I guess I was kind of hoping more of like a answer to the philosophy, like what is the idea here?
Yeah.
But he essentially said, you know, it is tough. One, because of the way the calendar sets, you know, we all know it. We know it quite well. And he said, you know, for us right now, our teams are coming in and getting our players in the middle of our season. It's the opposite. In our off season, we're going out in the middle of their season and getting their players. So like it goes around and comes around, and it's fine. But he said about the coaching search specifically that, you know, going to players and having that conversation about trying to bring them to Atlanta, you kind of have to tell them like, yeah, there's a little bit of uncertainty in terms of like, you know, there's no coach, no permanent coach right now, but you just have to sell them. I think he said on the philosophy and ideas of the club, which to me, that kind of meant more so of like the attacking soccer, the bends, the fan base, like what they want to do in building the team. And I know fans definitely had opinions about that.
What?
But, which is also why I wanted more of like an answer to the, I guess, the actual coaching aspect of it in terms of like, do you get the chicken or do you get the egg first? Like you said, not quite what he gave, but it's still very insightful in terms of like how they go out and how they have these conversations with potential players. And he said right before that, you know, they're talking to 15 different clubs or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it's one of those. Really, it's not a great situation for Carlos and Garth. Like, you're in a really tough one because you had to get rid of your head coach. Now you have more quote unquote more money to spend than you've ever had before.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of not in the best timeline of how to spend it. Do you go get the coach?
Nothing like an embarrassment of riches, eh?
Yeah, I guess.
Well,
but at some
it's
point
like, you've got all this money, but you're
you're working your way through a really odd situation in terms of just like, do you go after these players that your scouting department has figured out? Do you hope that they are going to fit no matter what coach you bring in, vice versa? It's just it's tough. So that was where that question came from for Carlos yesterday.
Yeah, and that was one of those elements of being offset, and you wonder what the mindset is and the machinations. And in talking to coaches, it's like, yeah, we have these guys that we're keeping an eye on, and you know, it's like, we've got to work on our present tense. And you, coach, prospective interviewee, you know, it's like, here's the recipe, and here's the cupboard that you have to work with. Can you make something? Can you make a meal from what we have in the cupboard? I guess basically is the way to look at it.
Yeah, and I think if you do decide to go this route of bringing in a number 10, maybe a number 9, whatever, filling those DP spots, whether one or both, it has to knock some of the potential coaching names off the list, because some of them just might not work with what you have as a team right now. And if you fill those DP spots now, you're taking a risk, you're going for it this season, and it could pay off or it could crash out entirely. And if it does, then it's going to be a really bad day on Twitter.
A bad day?
Yeah. I'm trying to minimize it to one day.
One? Just one day? What?
Trying to remain positive.
No, absolutely. No, it's just, this is going to be the intrigue that is attached to all of the machinations that are in play right now involving player departures. You know, I'm at the airport all of a sudden. I'm at the curb at Hartsfield Jackson. It's like you see the departures, you see the arrivals, and you're looking up at the board. You're wondering where the planes are coming from. You know, how do we fill our hangar up? You know, how do we fill the airport and get all the traffic? It's going to be interesting to see all of this develop. Unfortunately, it comes off the heels of one of the biggest missed opportunities that you had this season to make some kind of a statement when it comes to Atlanta United. So blatant promo time, Tyler. Hit us with what's going on in the Scarves and Spikes world.
We have our show tonight. We will be having Tony Leon, who did the Flags Out stuff, actually also my brother-in-law. He'll be on, discussing some U.S. soccer. He did the live shows with us at the Signia Hotel for Copa America. Okay. So he'll be chatting Atlanta with us and a little bit of U.S. soccer, and I'm sure Berhalter's name will get brought up once. So we'll have that tonight. And we just got a bunch of articles on the website, especially as it relates to the youths in the club, the ones who are showing some life right now. So
you said youths.
Yes.
And Tyler, as always, my friend, great to see you in person. Great to have you on the show every Wednesday to kind of bust through hour number 1. We will catch up with you soon, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. He's going to go have his second cup of coffee or his third or something. And then this is where we do a hot tag and bring Nick in. And so it is Nick, it is Maddie, and it is me. And we are waiting to see if the busiest man in the Northeast, Dylan Butler, drops by for a half hour. Like I said, hour number 2. Dylan Butler could drop in. He'd be 10 to 10:30. 10:30, we talk Hickory FC. 10:45, we talk about North Carolina Courage and the USLW. Hi, Nick. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm admiring the rich wood paneling behind you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of it. Where you guys at? You guys what, like Blue Ridge or something?
Yeah. This is the yearly visit to Blue Ridge, where you may admire the wood paneling, but we'd rather admire running water. Because that is in no supply at the moment. So
no, there's no running water where you are?
Had a water main break on Monday night with all the storms, and it has affected the entire mountain. And we were one of the last ones to have any kind of pressure yesterday, and it finally just got shut down. And so they said, yeah, by tomorrow today at midnight, you should have all of your water back. And so we're like, yay. So
Are you near the Toccoa River?
Oh, well, no, I went and bought several different sizes of dihydrogen oxide containers for fresh water. So no, we're doing that, and it'll be we have enough of the perishable foods to get us through situations, but it will be other elements of this are interesting. And so, yeah, Patty wanted to cook tonight, and so I don't know if that's going to happen because we wanted to entertain guests tonight, and so I don't know if that's going to happen. And then tomorrow is reservations in town at one of our favorite restaurants. And so, yeah, we're just going to, but basically, yeah, right now, running water equals 0 in the mathematical equation of vacations. So,
if you make your way into downtown Blue Ridge, there is a Polish restaurant. Right. There's a Polish restaurant in downtown Blue Ridge. I'm trying to remember the name of it. But she has like farm fresh beef.
Ooh.
And she also has legitimate, like high quality Polish dishes. We had 2 friends of ours from Poland who came in and hung out with us up in Blue Ridge when my mom had a cabin up there, and they signed off. They said this place is 100% authentic. Polish is like one of the most difficult languages to learn.
You ain't kidding, brother.
And they'd have like 37 words for eat.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah. And so they had like a full on Polish conversation, and they pulled me aside, like, she's 100% legit. Will, everything's legit. That's what I was told from my Polish friends. Everything was legit.
I mean, Will and I are of the same brain, because I was going to ask about the pierogi. And so, yeah, I mean, that Will knows me and my eating frames of mind, but to ask about the pierogi out of the blocks, it's a strong play.
There we go.
Let's see. So we got Tyler's thoughts. We got Jarrett's thoughts about what happened last night. Nick, since you're new to the party, go ahead and go for it. Like I said, we're in a holding pattern over the airport to see if Dylan Butler lands or not. But in the interim, go for it.
It's not fun. It sucks. No. For me to say anything else other than it sucked would be wildly disingenuous. I feel for Dax McCarty.
Yeah.
Dax was hoping that, when you saw the behind the scenes videos of Pineda's last days, and Dax was like, I came here because I wanted to finish up my career in like a competitive way. And he's getting the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
You had, if you're a glass half full person, which I'm not,
right.
You would say, oh, well, they're, Atlanta's rebuilding and reloading, and this is just the calm between the reloading. Massive transfer budget. They actually have a larger transfer budget than AC Milan does, which is crazy. But, United has the resources to go get help. But if you're a glass half empty person, you sit there and go, well, that's great, but who's going to want to come here and dealing with, kind of the landscape as it is? For me, it is last night to lose to Indy 11 was extraordinarily frustrating. You have a team that, with just the players on the field, should have been able to beat Indy pretty handily. And that obviously did not happen. So it sucks. And I don't think that, anybody on that team, I don't think Rob Valentino, I don't think anybody would disagree with that.
Yeah.
But you had a shot to, go pretty far in this, in the Open Cup, which I think would have been great for the fan base. I think it would have been great for the team, obviously. And, now you kind of have to look at things a bit differently. Reloading. Okay. So 2020, the comment is we've been reloading since 2020. I'll say there's accurate. It's partially accurate. And I'll say that the challenge here is, how do I say this without sounding like it's excuse making? Because it's not, but it's reality. You have to acknowledge realities. If Joseph's knee doesn't self-destruct in Nashville,
yeah,
if COVID doesn't happen,
if somebody steps out on Nick DeLeon inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium against Toronto FC,
my God, we would be looking at things, I imagine, a bit differently. But the reality on the ground is that Joseph's knee collapsed like a neutron star. COVID did happen. Frank DeBoer, lost the locker room, or lost the team, or whether DeBoer lost the team or the team lost him, one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't work out. Then Gabriel Heinze, that deal falls apart. When you get older, you learn that one thing going sideways can derail you from a lot of the best laid plans. And so you had, the marketing thing of no rebuilding years is great in theory. It's not reality. The system, no cap system is built to have no off years. It's just not. Life happens, reality happens. And I think whenever you hit that injury streak, where it seemed like, God, somebody was getting a season-ending injury every other week, you ended up having to, sign bad, contracts that weren't exactly team friendly, but just to maintain some level of competitiveness. And you have to figure things out. I've scared off John now. John's left. Look at that. Maddie, I can't believe this. I've just chased off John.
Gosh, I don't know what happened, Nick.
I don't know. I start talking and he walks away. But the reality of the situation is, we had reality happen. We had contracts that we had to get out from under. And then things, I think that is, okay, Parzival, I think that is Margot's Gourmet Polish Kitchen and Blue Ridge. If it's still open, it's legit. It's amazing. But you had a number of people who came in to fill spots, and it didn't work. You have seen those players go elsewhere and have success. I think we can generally agree on this, right? So you can see what the scouting department saw. You could see okay, well, Josetu has been pretty damn good after leaving. Barco went back to River Plate and balled out. A lot of these other players who were here have gone elsewhere and been really damn good. So, whether that's coaching failure, whether that is, they didn't settle here, whatever it is, we've got to figure that out. I will still take, if going across the board for MLS teams, I'll take what we have here in Atlanta over what they're currently dealing with at Sporting Kansas City, where they have a player, or not a player, but they have a manager who is a part of the leadership team who is essentially never leaving, part of the ship, part of the crew.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take what we have in Atlanta over what the Red Bulls are dealing with, over what Philly's dealing with. Swing for the fences. That's fine. We're getting a lot of strikeouts as of late, but now's the time for the front office, for Garth and Carlos to figure out what you're going to be doing. So it's you got to figure out the philosophy. And don't tell me, okay, we're going to be, we're going to be this, the Ferrari team. All right, that's great. That was fine. When Darren had pitched that, it was great. Darren's not here anymore. You have a lot of money. So what are you going to do with it? But at the same time, what is the club philosophy going forward? Mm-hmm. That's not a gotcha question. It's not. There will be people who will take it as a gotcha question. It's not a gotcha question. I really want to know what, and I don't say in Garth we trust. I don't say in Carlos we trust. I don't say any of that. All I want is, what is this team? Who is this team going to be going forward? well, we're competing for championships. Great. How? What's the player profile going to be? Before it was we bring in young talent, we raise them up, we sell them off. Getting out from under the Yakimakis contract, I thought was brilliant because the guy spent more time being injured than, actually being on the field.
That and apparently, Maddie, people in MLS like to lose.
Yeah, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
But you sold Almada, which you knew was going to happen, and you knew it was probably going to happen this summer. Okay, great. You got pretty damn decent money for him. You're sending Caleb Wiley to Chelsea.
In theory,
probably, yeah. I just want to know what the process is going to be going forward, and I would like Garth to have sort of a state of the union and say, okay, here's who we're going to be going forward. I think if, there's some managerial candidate names being tossed around out there. It's hard to feel optimistic when there's so many variables out there. You have, from a manager perspective, what kind of manager are we looking for? Because if you bring in Greg Berhalter, like let's say in a magical world of make-believe,
right?
Greg Berhalter gets let go from the U.S. men's national team. If that's who you hire, the guy had trouble generating offense in Europe. He had trouble generating offense, Columbus was okay, but they weren't exactly the most exciting team ever put on paper. And then the U.S. men's national team sputtered. So what kind of excitement level does that bring here? You have to have a team. And there's some cities that can get away with playing slug ball and calling it fine. Philly, they play knife fight in a phone booth, 24/7, 365. The fan base is okay with it.
But you can't be old and play that way. You can't be an old guy doing knife fight in a phone booth. And that's what Philly came into this year.
Yeah, correct. In Atlanta, you have to have something exciting. This is like LA East, whether people take offense to that or not. It's LA East. We need excitement. You need something that generates buzz. And that's what filled out the stadium before. I think that's what's going to fill out the stadium again. That's what gets people excited. And I'm happy to have this conversation with anybody. I just want to know what the philosophy is going to be going forward. If you're saying we're going to get some MLS coach, MLS retread, to me, that's not exciting. If you have the, what kind of player profile we're going to get some Euro players coming in. We're going to go find some exciting South American players, but who want to stay. Great. Is this a team that's going to be going forward often? Is this a team that's just win, baby, just grind it out however you get it? I want to know these things because I'm a season ticket holder. I'm not an employee of the team. John, was I at the media game this year? No, I was not. Was I there last year? Yes, but I was not there this year. I know people who work for the team, wonderful people, kind people, amazing people. But at the end of the day, I'm a season ticket holder. And I think I was like what did the rep tell me? I think I was like in the first 1,400 people who got a season ticket, who put down money for season tickets. I've been here since day one. And as a customer, because I want to know what the plan is going forward. That's it. I just want to know what the plan is going forward. Tell me how we're going to win. Tell me, I don't need to know tactically how you accomplish your strategy because you got to keep some stuff under wraps. But just tell me what the strategy is. What is the end goal? We're going to be successful because we're going to do X. Southwest said we're going to be successful because we're going to be the Greyhound of the airways, right? We're not going to be Delta. We're not going to be United. We're going to be the Greyhound of the airways, and they were very successful in doing that. I want to know what we're going to do to be successful going forward. And I think I've earned that as a season ticket holder since day one. And I think so many people who've been season ticket holders since day one would like to hear the same thing. I don't think that's a shot across the bow at anyone. I don't think it's a dig. I do think that it's a necessary component because this is not a situation where we are, and I'll get off my soapbox with this because I know I have a tendency to ramble.
No, but that's
I know. But my thing is this. Teams sell, this family style relationship. Trust is earned, okay? Love is earned, and customer loyalty is earned, right? But I believe that 2017, 2018, it's a long time ago. And this team has swung for the fences, and I've applauded it, right? I've applauded it every step of the way. Even when signings didn't work out. Well, the hell with it. They swung for the fences. And I'll take that because it's better than some of the latent mediocrity that some teams put out there. And I know we don't want to do grass is greener, but dude, you have injuries that have been mounting. There's not much that can be done about that. It's across the board. You've had swings and misses from signing perspectives that, theoretically Giakoumakis should have worked out, didn't. But I want to know what Garth's plan is to ensure that we're going to be competitive next year. I think that's fair. Have a State of the Union. Tell us why we need to keep investing as season ticket holders. That's not a shot across the bow. That's reality. Finances are tight, baby.
Mm-hmm.
I got to make financial choices. Do I keep spending my money? Because this is season tickets I could go to Europe. I could take the family on a badass European vacation with what I'm paying for season tickets. So tell me why I need to keep being a season ticket holder. Every organization in MLS needs to be able to do this. This isn't just Atlanta United. Okay. LAFC says you should renew your season tickets because we're going from Carlos Vela to Olivier Giroud. Right. We're upgrading, we're maintaining this. If you're a San Jose Earthquakes fan, yeah, you got some questions, but I just tell me what we're doing. That's it. That's just my 2 cents. I'm happy to hear what anyone else has to say, but I love this team. I think a lot of the signings have been great attempts to be competitive. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But we're in a place now where we're out, there's not a lot of hope happening this year. So just tell me what's happening here. That's all I want to know.
What do you think, Maddie?
Well, I think it's a hard balance because and I'm not saying this in a way of like a bad way, but they might not know what the next step is. You just have an interim head coach right now. Do you go ahead and try to find talent right now that could stay with the possibility that Rob might not be hired up as the head coach and you bring somebody else in who it might not fall in that way? Or do you kind of let it ride out? You find some talent to fill in the spots for right now while Rob continues out and then you're still searching? Because that's the other thing. We don't know what we're searching for in the aspect right now. And so that's, I think, playing a factor into it. And you're trying to kind of find that balance. And it's hard. It's hard to look at that because there's a lot we don't know. There's a lot we probably will never know because a lot of that stays within the front office. But I mean, I think that might be where it's all at right now because you just don't know where to go from here. And when that transfer window opens back I'm counting down the days. 8 days. So, 8 days. 8 days away. I mean, that hopefully can open some things up. Maybe you bring in someone who can really keep it going. My biggest thing is you need someone up top. You have to get someone up top. I'm going to say it one more time. We need someone up top.
Yes.
Because we need someone who can be a force.
Maddie, where
Where
do we need him?
Where do you need him?
We need him up top. We
There we
need
go.
a striker.
Let's go.
Please. Because that's what we need. We need someone up there who can create some stuff, who can create things. Because I think the issue is not us creating chances. We're creating chances. We just need someone to find the back of the net. And that's it. But I mean, back to the point, I'm going on a little soapbox on how we need a striker. It's hard. We don't know what the plan is. We might not know what the plan is right now. And it's just kind of trying to see where it falls. And that's kind of what's going on, I think.
Well, again, my thing with this is, and Bart asked the question. He says, someone on this show who is smarter than me, tell me why we should again sign designated players without a permanent head coach. This is where I have to balance my love of ambition with practicality. Carlos has said we don't necessarily have to have a manager in place to sign players. Carlos, I will say without any sarcasm, Carlos knows what he's doing in this sport a hell of a lot more than I do. I, however, fail to see the logic in that. Because if you have a manager who says, hey, look, we're going 110 miles an hour, like no matter what, we're going to attack. What happens when you get tired? We're going to keep attacking, and you have somebody who is on the slower end, who's more possession focused. It could be a really good player, but a square peg in a round hole, right? That doesn't make sense to me. I'd rather have a manager who's in place who says, okay, I am looking for this profile of player that's really going to make my system go from 55 to 110, right? Like, just if you want optimized operations, I need this player.
Okay, so then, all right, so hit the pause button on that for a second. Let me go devil's advocate here. If you see a player that you believe fits your philosophy, even without a head coach, then should you not chase after that resource so you do not lose that resource in the global marketplace? And then have an individual who understands, okay, attacking midfielder A can fit into whatever system we are looking at, or whatever system, whatever mindset we have, and will adapt to whatever head coach we bring in to this situation. That's just me on the flip side of that argument.
No, and I think that's valid, but that's looking at it almost from like the housing market strategy, which is we found a house that we like, so we need to go ahead and put a bid on it because somebody else is going to get it. The difference is that we're not looking to relocate, so it's not like, oh, this is the house in the optimal area, in the optimal time. Even though I don't like the house, we just got to get it. It's actually the reverse. It's we are bringing something to us. So there's not one clear fix. Instead, there are a lot of players who could fit a particular profile, right? A lot of players who could come in at the right price point. Maybe fewer players who have name recognition, who are a bit more of a surefire thing. Judging by what we've seen in other markets, you don't have to have essentially a recreation of Barcelona 2010 like they have down in Miami.
The Gulfstream Galacticos, yeah.
Right. To make it, the Gulfstream Galacticos, I do like that. To make it work. There are teams in this league who have found players from, like Ricky Puig, right? Who would have thought 10 years ago that we would have a player like Ricky Puig be a difference maker? Carlos Vela, before he came in, unless you were, tied into the Mexican community, there are a lot of people who probably wouldn't have been on like, oh, wow, Carlos Vela, my God, he came into MLS and they were like, oh, damn, okay, this guy's cooking. there are several tiers of players who we can get. We don't need to lock in on one. This is why I think if it were me, I would focus all of my energy on getting a manager now, booking and just saying, look, we're letting Rob Valentino finish out the year. And what we want you to do is manager X. We want you to start building your notebook of players that you see that you think we need to be chasing. And come the winter window, we're going to go get those players. So that's why we have 2 windows. We don't need to lock into just the summer window unless there's a clear, defined A1, A++1 player that we need to get. Like a Hamas. Like if you want to go get Hamas, even though he's been chronically injured for club teams, but that's beside the point.
Right.
If you want to go get a James Rodriguez, to me, that's an A+1 player. That's where no matter what, you need to go. We need to get him. But Asaba is available in a winter window, right? A player like going back in the day, like a Tito, would be available in a winter window. There are players in South America who would be available in the winter window. We don't have to find necessarily DP slots filled right now. Would it be great? Sure. Because, you're trying to be competitive toward the end of the year. But in my opinion, we need to get a manager now and then focus on the players that fit that manager's profile in the winter window. Because before we start the season, Airborne, are you talking about me or are you talking about, so I can clarify, or are you talking to somebody in the chat? So sorry, that makes no sense. So to me, if there's an A+1 player that can come in and be a name and be a star, then that's great. But I don't think we need to chase DPs now. Get the manager, build the profile, then go get those players in the winter window. That's my sense. That's my 2 cents. Okay. That's my 2 cents.
No, and I love the fact that everyone in the Twitch pitch is having their thoughts on this. Obviously, we're going to talk about it a lot more as the week goes on. Tomorrow, once again, this is the beauty of a Wall Pass Wednesdays. It pretty much carries over to all 5 days of the week. If there's anything that we miss in the conversation today, we can always pick it back up tomorrow in the 9 o'clock hour. 10 o'clock hour tomorrow is our buddy Nino Torres from Gold TV. He'll talk Copa. And Nico will come in at 10:30, and he'll talk Major League Soccer as well. But no, and I think that what we brought up this morning, obviously, is coming off a moment of suck. And it's where you go from here. And the questions that you have with all of this money that's incoming, that's going to be here. And there are other elements of this, whether you're talking financial or personnel, that we didn't even get the opportunity to get into this morning, having to do with the geopolitical aspects of possible moves and probable financial windfalls and things like that, and players that are made available as a part of all of this. So
we're talking about the Russian player, right?
Well, and also the alleged money that could be coming from the Barco possible transfer to Spartak Moscow, where last time I checked, the State Department and the Department of Defense are kind of like, do a check with me, boss.
Yeah.
And so if something, so there are reports about Ezequiel Barco possibly being moved from River Plate to Spartak Moscow. Atlanta has a sell-on that is attached to a Barco move.
Yeah.
And so if these reports turn into something accurate, then that is more money that Atlanta United can be dealing with to bring in more players, with the geopolitical caveat. And I can't believe I just used that phrase. But remember how things are right now with Russia in the world sphere. This is going to have to be something dealt with directly with Atlanta United and River Plate. And River Plate are going to have to be the ones, if these reports end up to be true, that are going to have to bear the financial burden in all of this?
It's going to be a two-part deal. I think legally it has to be a two-part deal where Atlanta would sit down with River Plate and say, look, we can't take the money because of the geopolitical stuff that's going on.
Right.
So essentially what we're going to say is we're going to convert, or on your end, you guys figure out how to convert that money into an asset.
Right.
On your end. But what we're going to do is we're going to make an agreement that we're going to remove the sell-on clause from Ezequiel Barco.
Right.
You guys are going to make a player available to us.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to pay the agent fee.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a true free for us. You're paying the agent fee and you're going to release the player. Player's going to be released to us. No money changes hands.
Yeah.
To me, that's the only way that works in that scenario. But I'm sure there's somebody with billable hours who can find a better way to make that happen.
And
because
so
the money is going to have to be sorted on River Plate's end, not as a pass-through, because you can't do pass-through of Russian money.
No.
So,
yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. All right, it is past 10:30, time to check in on the NPSL, and we bring in Carlos Rubio, the head coach of Hickory FC. Coach, it is a full house for you this morning. It is Nick, it is Maddie, and it is me as you are getting ready on a game day for the playoffs. How are you?
Thank you very much for having me on. No, super excited for tonight. So, now thankful to be here speaking with you guys.
All right, Maddie, since you have spent time in the NPSL and you know about what's going on with Apotheos and Hickory and all of the teams in the NPSL Southeast, your first question for Carlos Rubio as Hickory gets ready for hosting a playoff match tonight.
Well, hey, Coach, how are you doing today?
Hey, Maddie, how are you?
Doing well. Listen, so this matchup between Apotheos tonight, it's going to be a fun one. What have you seen from Apotheos this season? And kind of looking at that, what are you anticipating for tonight's match?
They're a great team. Obviously, they have history of success in the NPSL. Very well coached. A good, all around a really good program. So it's going to be a fun one, as you say. There's going to be some fireworks. There's great game of soccer. They'll be ready. So will we. They've gone better as the season progressed, and they're playing a really exciting brand of soccer right now. So it'll be a great matchup.
Nick, for Carlos Rubio and Hickory FC as they get ready for Apotheos in the playoffs tonight.
From what I understand, you guys have beat Apotheos before, right? So how do you walk into a locker room and say, look, that was before, this is now. It could be a different situation. So don't go to sleep on this opponent. How do you keep your team up after having a win over a club like this?
Yeah, I mean, the context helps massively. Being now on a knockout stage, it'd probably be different if it will be again on a regular season. But being win or go home, semifinals of the conference, see that context helps with our message. And obviously, we always say it's not easy to beat the same team twice in one season. So the boys are ready. They know that it's win or go home. Nothing is guaranteed. We need to fight for it. They're gonna come ready and prepare, and I'm sure they want to get us back from that first game of the season. But our job is to turn the page, just focus on our task in hand, win the matchup tonight, and keep dancing and advancing. So,
dancing and advancing. It sounds like a T-shirt. Let me ask you, for someone who hasn't seen action in the NPSL Southeast, I would maintain that in a league where you have a lot of haves and have-nots in your conferences, this is one of the toughest conferences out there across the board with these four teams that have made the playoffs. How would you describe what it's like on a weekly basis in this sprint that is the NPSL Southeast?
I mean, it's been fun. It's exactly what we hope for, exactly what we look for. It's a great experience for the club, the coaching staff, the players. We want to play at the highest level against the best teams in the country. So the fact that we get to do that on a weekly basis, it's just something to be really proud of. It prepares us for this situation now. It'll prepare whoever comes out of our conference for the region and the national stage. And I got no doubt that whoever comes out, hopefully it will be Hickory FC after this weekend. Whoever comes out is going to make some noise in the national stage.
Maddie, for Carlos Rubio, round two.
I mean, just looking at your roster, one player for you guys, Diego Fernandez, has been huge for you guys on the offensive side. What does he bring to the team? And kind of just seeing him really step up into this role this year, what has it been like for you to watch him grow?
I could be speaking about Diego for the next 20 minutes. He's a fantastic player, really exciting to watch. He's got an eye for goal. You see on training, he bangs 5 to 6 goals every time that we're doing any sort of competitive match at training. He's been doing that on the games as well. But what makes me proud about Diego is that at the start of the season, he came on from his college with a little injury. He worked his way into the lineup. It took him about 4 to 5 games to start seeing some minutes. He kept on working. He kept on believing on us and our path and the direction that we had for him. And we're getting now into the knockout stage this part of the season, and he's absolutely flying. So, yes, a fantastic player, but what makes him different is his character.
Nick, round 2 with Carlos Rubio.
I'm going to yield the floor to Bart, who says, "I have a question for the head coach of my alma mater. How do you, coach, see Hickory FC benefiting the Lenore Rhine men's soccer program this upcoming season and in the future?"
I mean, it benefits us all, benefits the community. I'm sure that after this season, we're going to have so many more fans our home games in Lenore Rhine. It makes the community and soccer grow in Hickory. So I'm super proud and super excited for this partnership, what's going to mean for the community, and more important than anything, for the youth soccer in our area. I've been speaking with John every week, and one of the things that he's probably got tired of hearing me say is how proud we are to look at the stands and look at this 3, 4, 5 first rows and just see kids with the jersey with Lenore Rhine jerseys, with Hickory FC jerseys, and that's what we're most proud of. So I've got no doubt that it's gonna put Lenore Rhine soccer at a higher and a national stage. When people look at us, it's gonna benefit Hickory. So it's only a win for the community, for Lenore Rhine, and for Hickory FC.
What's it been like to build something from scratch like this?
Exciting. I can only sing praises to the ownership group from day one. They gave us a lot of trust on building the team. They knew what kind of players we needed. We knew what we needed to bring those players into the team. They've been nothing but supportive. So it's all down to those guys and obviously our GM to provide us with the environment in which we can recruit really good players and coach at the level that we need to prepare the boys for this matchup. So now super excited to build something from scratch.
Last go round with Carlos Rubio. Maddie, what's on your mind?
My question, I covered a lot of WPSL, and I feel like the Southeastern Conference, I feel like in both the NPSL and the WPSL is so competitive with everything that you have going on. What is it like to compete in a conference that has so much talent?
Yeah, like you said, soccer in our region is at a really high level, both in the men and the women. So it's super exciting to be surrounded by fantastic players, like you say, fantastic coaches. It just elevate us to a higher level. It demands really high standards from all of us on a daily basis if we want to continue to keep growing in our path. So it's fantastic. It's so much fun. It doesn't let you sleep at night. It keeps you awake. But at the end of the day, is one of the reasons why we do it, to be surrounded by great characters, really competitive coaches and players and clubs that elevate us to the highest level.
Nick, last question from you for Carlos.
All right, Carlos, man, I need merch. I need some shirts. I need some jerseys. How do I go about getting this, man?
Yeah. What size? Let's see if we can get this one. But no, it's, obviously you gotta make it to one game, and then I can promise you a home jersey. But other than that, obviously in our in our webpage and social media. They got all access to that. But if you make it to one game, you come find me, and I'll make sure you leave with a jersey.
I will agree to your terms, sir.
See,
this is a tempting offer.
That offer extends to all of you guys.
See, you got Maddie all fired up now. I think Maddie might try to take the trip to Lenore-Rhyne now.
Listen, if there's one thing that this show is kind of made me really bad at, is I buy a lot more scarves and jerseys than I did before. So this is not good.
You guys make it to one game, and I'll take care of the rest.
That's fantastic.
That.
So what time? What's kickoff tonight? What time?
10 p.m.
Okay, so 7:00 tonight. Let me ask you this: if you win tonight, what are you doing in the 9:00 hour tomorrow morning?
Preparing for the next match.
Okay. Well, do you want to include, if you win tonight at home, do you want to refer to preparing for the next match against either the winner of Hops and App? Would that include a return visit tomorrow morning on the show in the 9:00 hour?
Perfect. That's part of my routine, my preparation. So let's do it.
All right. So that's the rundown. So it is Apotheos at Hickory, and we'll extend obviously the same thing to Jonathan Mercado, to Dale Parker at App, and then our friends Steve Gummer, et cetera, up at Hops. But the winners tonight, we're going to reach out to them, bug them on their cell phones so they can come back here 9:00 hour tomorrow and get ready for the conference final and to see who makes it to the national playoffs. Coach, great to catch up with you, my friend. Good luck tonight. We'll catch up with you. Obviously, if Hickory's folks have it their way, we'll catch up with you again tomorrow to talk about this match and the match on the weekend.
Awesome. Perfect. So I hope to see you all tomorrow then.
There you go. It's Carlos Rubio and Hickory FC. That's fantastic. All right, so we've got a guest almost booked for tomorrow. So
looking ahead, man. That's all I like.
That's what we got to do. Since we got to do like a bunch of different things all at once, we have to multitask here. We have to produce and plan and book and get things ready.
Those Hickory jerseys are nice, man.
Yeah, listen, all I'm hearing is we're all taking a SDH trip up there to watch Hickory FC. That's what I'm hearing.
Yep.
See, and Bart makes the question. See, now this would be something if Martin Luther, the man himself, if you drove into Lenore-Rhyne's campus, kind of like what we have at Mercedes-Benz. By the way, Willie Davis of North Carolina Courage U23 is coming up in a couple of minutes. If you had, and this is something we probably need to tell our friends from Hickory FC, make sure that either Martin Luther has a scarf draped around him until they can get a jersey that fits, apparently, according to Bart, the tallest head-to-toe statue of Martin Luther in the world. So I'm guessing a medium is not going to work for Martin Luther at the Lenore-Rhyne campus. Somebody at Lenore-Rhyne's got to do a public service and figure out the circumference of Martin Luther's head and figure out what size jersey Martin Luther needs. We need to get Lenore-Rhyne and or Hickory FC on this. We've got to figure out how big Martin Luther's head is and what size jersey he can have. Because remember, and it's got to be a Velcro, because Martin Luther, I imagine that statue doesn't like raise his arms to help you out to put a jersey.
Correct.
So it's got to be like, or maybe just a wraparound, like a Velcro thing where you put it and then it's like it comes together on one side. Hickory FC, get on this. Lenore-Rhyne, get on this. Figure out how Martin Luther can wear. I mean, the easy thing is obviously just to take a scarf and drape it around him for the match tonight and for anybody else in the future. You got to wrap a scarf around Martin Luther, but you've got to figure out how to get a jersey on him to welcome everybody on campus. I think we're solving the world's problems here. One campus at a time, putting jerseys and or scarves on statues. I think we figured this out. We're doing fantastic work here.
This is what we do.
And Bart is saying that whenever we go, he's obviously going to be a part of the trip. So that kind of goes without saying when it comes to Hickory FC. But the playoffs tonight, Charlottetown Hops and App FC and you should be able to go on, I think apps. I think app has, you can either check on Sports Engine or you can check through their social media. Same with Hickory. Check on Sports Engine with it's NBC's live website. And then you've also got their website as well and their traffic. But that's the matchups tonight in the NPSL Southeast first round of those particular tournaments. Someone who is in a national semifinal in the USL-W. We now bring in Willie Davis, the head coach of North Carolina Courage's U23s. Coach, as always, it's great to see you. Great to have you on the show, and that usually means that you're making another deep playoff run. It is John, it is Maddie, and it is Nick. Welcome to the show.
Nice to chat with you guys, and thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
It's been another deep playoff run for you in USLW, and I know that this is the expectation for you and everyone within the Courage organization. So what's it like to be in the national semifinals again?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we were striving for, and, you know, I looked at the Final Four a couple days ago and realized I think we're the only returning team to it. So, you know, it's an achievement that we were gunning for, and you never know if it can happen 2 years in a row. So we're excited to be in this position.
Maddie Cruz, first question for Coach Davis is the North Carolina Courage are in the USLW national semifinals, right-hand side of the bracket.
Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of go back just looking at Tennessee SC and seeing kind of what they bring to the table. What are you expecting for this matchup between you guys?
I'm expecting, Tennessee is a youth organization, and within their semi-pro league, they produce some good players that play at some high-level universities, and you know, we typically do the same. I think our model is a little different because we also use a decent amount of youth players in our U23 format, which is always great. I've watched a little bit of their game against Asheville, and I know they've had a couple battles with Asheville this year, who was previously in our conference, and they got a really nice goal to get them put themselves in position. So I'd imagine it to be a pretty competitive contest, and you know, good soccer for people to come out and watch.
Nick Khalifi for Willie Davis is North Carolina Courage is in a national semi in the USLW League. Go for it.
All right, got a bit of a psychology question for you. So win or go home, it's easy for especially younger athletes to get into their head in these situations and put too much pressure on themselves. How do you balance the need for urgency with the need to just play the game? How do you, when you talk to players, how do you teach them to sort of handle that critical anxiety of a win or go home match?
Yeah, great question. I mean, it's a unique situation when you're dealing with the USLW League players because you don't have them year round. So the psychological impact and how quickly you have to try to get them on point with whatever your mission is on the year is can be a challenging one. But I think what we do is we start out with having a ton of players who have come through our youth program. So we have an alumni base, which is unbelievable. So first and foremost, we don't have to force a style of play very often. It is rare. It is very rare. So that's a great thing. So our game itself doesn't fail us much because most of our players know what Courage is supposed to play like from top to bottom. And two, you know, we're lucky we're in the ACC belt and what have you, that other different schools, we got a lot of top level players who have been in some crunch situations. So they kind of have that mindset, be it from, you know, really high level daily training within their universities or the games they play in within their conferences. And then our youth players that we bring in, you know, we're lucky. The youth players that we still have involved, I think all of them, except for maybe one, just finished playing in a national playoff in Seattle. And 5 of those kids that just played with us in the last round were, you know, advanced out of bracket in Seattle against top teams around the country. So you know, I try to keep a sense of calm in the camp itself. Don't focus much on winning because our mindset is, you know, that's what we know we're trying to do. So we don't talk about it a lot. Make the training environment as competitive as possible, and you know, just go after it from there.
So then, do you focus still on yourselves in these situations with the quick turnarounds and the weekends where you're having to advance and, you know, survive and advance kind of a thing? And because of the familiarity with the system, do you get to spend more time on your opponent than you would otherwise in a situation like this? Or is it still, I'm going to focus on us, we're going to do our thing, so we're at 100% when we go up against these opponents?
Yeah, 85, 90% is focusing on us. One, you brought up the quick turnaround, the recovery piece. We played on Friday and Sunday and traveled 6 hours on the bus there and back. And I felt like we managed the kids really well. But, the Monday was a travel day home. So that was a recovery day for the most part. Today will be a bit of a recovery day, fairly light. Tomorrow we'll go after it and talk tactics a bit and put some things into play for our opponent, and then play Saturday. But for the most part, when you have the situations like this, and you give the example, we played Friday, I watched film, did our pregame meeting, gave the kids bits of information, a little bit of video clips of stuff. And then the Sunday game was a quick turnaround, and it was really hot in Mechanicsburg. We just did basically recovery over those next that day in between, talked about our opponent, showed them some clips again as well. And we'll do the same here. We'll focus on Tennessee a bit, but it's really about what we're going to do to try to take away their game. We go from there.
Maddie Cruz for Willie Davis.
Just looking at what you guys have been able to accomplish this season, it's your 13th straight win this season after you guys faced off against Long Island Rough Riders to make it here. How proud are you of your team this season and what you guys have accomplished and getting back here to another national semifinal for you guys?
Yeah, it's exciting, and it's great to have. It's great to have players that are committed to whatever our cause and our mission is. And, these aren't not paid professionals. They don't have to be here for any of the teams that are in this position. And, we're lucky enough to have a base, like I said, of former Courage kids, youth players, but also players who have gotten wind of, what our environment's like and what they want to be a part of. And, it puts us in this position. And pride is probably the best word to put it, because you're right. We've been on a bit of run and we hope we can keep it up. But, the team has lost, 2 games in 3 years, and one of them being the national finals last year. And I think everybody knows, being in sports, it's always difficult to get back to whatever that promised land is, that top level is. And so it's really exciting for the kids. It's exciting to have this opportunity. And I'm very, very proud of what they've accomplished so far.
Nick Alifi for Willie Davis.
All right, I'm going to come at you from left field yet again, Coach, because here's the thing. I am a nerd about certain things. And one thing, we are in July. Last time I checked, I'm looking at the calendar now. Yep, we're still in July. For a lot of parents out there who have their kids in sports, they have their kids, practicing, training, being a part of teams, please, God, talk to these parents about the importance of proper hydration, because I keep having conversations with people and they're like, oh yeah, my kid's drinking sodas and whatnot. And, are you focusing on hydration at all? No, not really. But we can't figure out why he keeps picking up injuries and whatnot. Please talk to these parents about the importance of damn hydration, especially on a short turnaround.
Yeah, I don't know if you're being a nerd about it or if you're just being super passionate, but
he's also a dad who has athletes for kids.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I have 2 daughters that are in our Courage program that it's funny you bring that up. I've been in this business for a while. I've played at a good level. I've coached at a good level, and my wife played at a high level as well. And she's a physical therapist and has worked with athletes. And with all of the education we provide our kids, it's an everyday battle. And that's just, it's kids. And I'd be the first to tell you, I think when I played consistently, I probably wasn't the best at it either, but when I look at where kids are now, and, you bring up the hydration piece, and I'll take it a step further and say, in our club side, we push and talk a ton about overtraining, about lack of recovery, about obviously lack of hydration and nutrition. And we try to implement some things to help. But it is the world we live in, and people think that more sometimes is better, and it's just not. And the proper health, we've all been there. When you're young, you feel like you're invincible. So kids don't get it until it's too late sometimes. So yeah, I definitely believe in what you're talking about. We push it. I think when we were just gone in Mechanicsburg, we had a great support staff with our intern Lily and our one of the main operational people for the women's team, Lexi. They did a great job to make sure our players did not miss the boat on anything. So, in this environment, you've got to purposely not try to be hydrated or recover. On the other side of it, parents, yeah, he's right. You just got to be better at helping our kids with it.
When it comes to North Carolina Courage and everything that either we're talking the NWSL side with their championships, which you've been building there on the U23 side in the USL-W League, and the pedigree that is being established, every single season with the pipelines and the new folks that come in, how do you keep the pressure from getting to these young athletes while they understand what the end game is? Because to me, that seems like it's a real difficult balance to sit there and go, yes, we have this pedigree, we have these goals and aspirations, but we don't want you to get bogged down with the pressure that's attached to the expectation. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's the landscape's ever changing. I mean, I think the pressure. And you mentioned in-game. I think the in-game's changed for kids even more because so many of our female athletes are now really looking at the professional side more. The NWSL was always the promised land, I guess, for the professional side. And now you have the USL Super League that's starting up. You have more kids that go to Europe to cut their teeth if they can't, cut it here in the States, because the game in the States is a different type of game than it is in the European world. I think pressure is interesting. I mean, it's I think it was what Billie Jean King said, pressure is a privilege, and I think that it's teaching kids that pressure is okay, and learning how to channel it and balance it and deal with it has been our part of our task. I think as a youth culture, as coaches and educators and leaders, we have to continue to be better at that. And I'm going through a leadership course right now that is completely blowing my mind on what leadership looks like. And I've been doing this for a while, so it's scrambled me a little bit in the point of where it makes me get better at trying to help our players with these things you're talking about. But I think it's really daily understanding that it's day-to-day goals that you set for the players set for themselves, having clear and defined team missions and objectives, and then keeping you in line with them and knowing what's tolerated and what won't be tolerated. And it kind of helps players move on to that next set because, give you an example, a bunch of my 07s and my daughter being one of them will be in college next year, and they have no idea what it's like to go into college and deal with that pressure cooker. So it's a constant, I won't say battle, but evolution on helping them with these things.
All right. Cut the promo for me. When's the national semifinal? When do folks need to gravitate to everything North Carolina Courage so they can see you guys take on Tennessee SC on the right-hand side of the bracket? Hit the promo for me.
Yes, we play this Saturday, July 13th at 6:00 p.m. at Wake Med on field number 2. We'll be out there, start warming up about 5:15-ish and kick off at 6:05.
Looking forward to it. As always, Coach, great to catch up with you this time of year. Great to catch up with you all the times that we get to do that. But normally when we catch up with you, it means that North Carolina Courage are making another deep playoff run. Thanks for dropping by the morning show. Good luck this weekend. We'll be keeping an eye on you as you're in the Final Four there in the USL-W League, chasing after another championship.
Thanks, John. I appreciate you guys, and have a great rest of the day.
There we go. That's Coach Davis. And it's
Coach.
Great to catch up with Coach Davis and find out what's going on there at North Carolina Courage. So we've had a lot of stuff this morning. We spent a lot of time on Atlanta United, Indy 11. We're talking about philosophies of building rosters and what to do in all of this kind of stuff. Rich, and we've also talked about, and Ropes has an interesting question. Does the jersey that you supposedly want to put on Martin Luther, I'm guessing you want to put it on Martin Luther, have the 95 Theses on it? See, now that would be an interesting third jersey for Hickory FC, considering where they play at Lenore-Rhine. That would be an interesting third jersey. So keep an eye on that for marketing aspects. We were getting into the discussion about salary caps and things, and where Messi and friends, they are doing their dead level best, the Moss brothers, to make sure that they can challenge the salary cap as best they can. Challenge the salary cap in air quotes. Rich has a tinfoil idea. Black helicopters, I don't have the sounder. What if Miami's just an experiment by the league to see what would happen if they finally let the doors open when it comes to salary cap? I don't know. I mean, Maddie, I don't know if it's an experiment by the league, but it certainly is an experiment by an owner and an ownership group. We see it in LAFC too, where you have an ownership group that sees it's almost like investment bankers, for a stereotype. They take no as their first negotiating point. And so you're seeing Inter Miami massaging the salary cap to its own bitter ends and trying to figure out how they can squeeze folks in. And I'm just going to call it what it is with Messi and everybody else. It's an NIL deal, for lack of a better phrase. But I think that challenge is good. And when you have folks like Messi and friends and LAFC that want to push the boundaries to kind of explain to the rest of the league, okay, maybe we should push the boundaries a little more. You've got two examples of that, one in the East and one in the West.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's proof that the league is growing.
Yeah.
It's proof that the league is growing, and it's up to MLS now to kind of catch up with the times, because you're going to have other expansion teams that are going to want to come in and do
San
something.
Diego, come on down.
You're going to have teams like that. They're going to want to come in and try and do the same thing. I mean, and listen, I don't want to because that'll get us back to expanding the club. I really thought MLS, when Atlanta did come in, there was a lot of crazy stuff that went on. We broke attendance records. We broke a whole bunch of different things that set the tone. Then you had LAFC coming in, you had Miami coming in, and it's kind of setting a standard for, hey, listen, there are clubs in MLS who are doing bigger things, a lot of other top level leagues and a lot of top level clubs. And I think it's cool to see, especially MLS growing and seeing what it is. So I definitely think that what's going on with Miami maybe has the league reevaluate how they handle the salary cap, or, at least let us know what that is, because we still really have no idea what the parameters are. And that gets us into another discussion that we've had for so long, John.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Nick, salary caps and loose constructs and reading the fine print. We're seeing it already.
The salary cap is not for Miami. It's not for Atlanta. It's not for LAFC, and it's not for the Galaxy. The salary cap is for the Union. It's for the Fire. It is for San Jose. It is for every team that does not want to spend significant money on significant players. And that is their safety mechanism. And what they do, and I was having a conversation with my dad about it this morning, about NASL, right? And how in the NASL, you ended up with top heavy with New York and with the LA Aztecs and the Washington Diplomats, and everyone else was just kind of coasting, right? Mm-hmm. Doing the best they could. The landscape is going to need to change in MLS. And I think Miami has discovered, as long as the money does not come from us, we're abiding by the rules. So if Messi, the businessman, wants to pay his buddies to come play here, that's between Messi, the business, and those players. And we Miami are paying them an MLS salary. So it is NIL money. And to me, that is the door that MLS should pass down to the teams. Look, if you want to do NIL, for lack of a better term, do it, because you're technically following the letter of the law. And so if Home Depot wants to sign a couple of studs to joke right there to to insane deals and have them play in Atlanta, then guess what? Or the Falcons want to sign a player as a brand ambassador for the NFL, and they happen to be a soccer player. Great. Figure it out. But Don't be one of these other teams that screams and cries and pisses and moans about the salary cap. Because if you are San Jose, if you are Sporting Kansas
John
City,
Fisher is a bad example, but yeah.
What I'm saying is, like, if you are Philadelphia, if you are St. Louis, you have to pay more to get players to come to your town. And Atlanta has to pay more because we're not Miami. We're not Los Angeles. Okay. We're not New York. So there's a tax for not being one of these high profile cities. It is what it is. But you have to figure out how to make that NIL money work. And that's not MLS's job. I think Miami is an experiment unto themselves, and they're figuring out how it's going to work, and good for them. I'm not mad.
No, and I think that basically, I think if you look at Messi and Friends and the Moss Brothers, I think that you look at this as, oh, okay, well, this is what the rules say. We're going to do what the rules don't say, and we're going to do it until we're told not to do it. Does that make any sense?
It does. Well, it's like the law, right? So there's the law as it's written, and then there's what's, quote, the spirit of the law, right? And anything outside of that, you just have to figure out the limits on, right? So is what you're doing in violation of the law, yes or no? If the answer is no, are you hiding something behind the 8 ball? Are you violating the spirit of the law? Okay, you may be in violation of the spirit of the law, but if there's no firm boundaries on that, have at it. And Miami's having at it. So, it's like speeding tickets, right? Like, you can drive at 90, you're going to pay for it, but you could drive at 90. No one's stopping you.
Yeah.
You're going to pay for it.
It's like,
have fun.
Yeah, it's like, is there a rule that says you can't drive 90 miles an hour? Yes, it is called a speed limit. But if there is no one there to enforce the speed limit,
right,
then you're violating the law. But until someone taps you on the shoulder and pulls you over to the side of the road and says you were driving 90 in a 65, are you going to stop if you're trying to get to your destination? I think the answer to that, Maddie, is no.
Listen, now we're just encouraging people to speed on the morning show, which
I'm not. I'm just saying that it happens.
And what I'm going to do as a sidebar is make sure that all of your headlights work on your car. Story time with John.
Oh, no.
Well, last night, as I was driving back up here from Kennesaw, back up here to the Casa and Blue Ridge.
Oh, gosh.
I was not aware, and I'm guessing it happened in drive. So, of course, that would, necessitate me not knowing that this happened. But in the beautiful, bustling metropolis of Jasper, John got the blue light special. And it was, and so I pull over, and I'm wondering what in the wide world of sports is going on. I've got my tag, got my updated sticker. Everything's fine. Have my insurance and everything. I get pulled over, and the very hospitable gentleman who is part of the city police force in Jasper told me that my passenger side headlight was out. And he said, "Well, I thought you were a motorcycle when you passed by me." That was the line that he used. I did not know that my passenger side headlight is out. So I would just recommend that as a part of all of our daily business, we make sure that everything is functioning with our automobiles, so we are not pulled over in the middle of the night by a city police officer to let us know that something is wrong with our car. So that's story time with John for today.
There you go.
Let's see. Yesterday, Argentina beat Canada in the Copa, and Spain beat France in the Euro. And
God, that was so good.
Lamine Yamal, Lamine Yamal wears braces, man.
They are so damn good.
The braces or Lamine Yamal?
No, like that. Spain, the way Spain plays, like they have just. It is stupid how they reloaded. they're like, okay, we're going to take a slight dip, and then we're going to be borderline a buzzsaw again. And they're not doing Pasinacho. They're not doing like pass the ball for 87 minutes, score 1 goal, and then, you know, finish out the game by passing the ball around. They are imposing. Terrifying, man.
Mm-hmm. So Maddie, Argentina sends Canada packing, and Rodrigo made fun of Jesse Marsh. Did you see that?
No. Yo, sorry. I came home and I went right to bed. I was tired. So what happened now?
So Rodrigo is fouled. Sorry, let me rephrase. There is.
Oh wait, is this the one where like he like fell and like barely touched him, and like didn't he get like a yellow card for it?
The Canada dude did for the foul.
That's what I was saying. Like, is that what that is?
Yeah, but there was there was a knock-on effect from that particular play, where Rodrigo's on the turf after the Canada player gets the yellow card, and I think these two events are attached. Rodrigo turns to Jesse Marsh, and Marsh is probably 10 yards to Rodrigo's right. And Rodrigo turns to Jesse Marsh, starts to giggle at Jesse Marsh, does the move with the hands, like the hand puppet talking bit, and then he does the shushing to Jesse Marsh. All in the same. I think this was all in the same action last night. So, yeah, welcome to Copa as an opponent for Argentina, Jesse Marsh / Canada. So that was that was an interesting moment last. That was an interesting moment last night that came across on the Twitters. But yeah, Spain, they're not bad. My entire bracket is now officially blown out in the Euro. I imagine that there are folks who are further along than I am when it comes to successes and things like that. But yeah, my bracket is totally blown.
Listen, this game today between England and Netherlands, I'm excited. It's going to be interesting.
It's going to set the world back 20 years.
It is, because listen, I honestly, I don't want England to make it through, because I don't think they have been they have not been a good team. Because here's the thing. I want a good final. If England goes, Spain's going to absolutely, I believe we've already broken the explicit rule. Spain's going to beat the shit out of them. That's
the fourth one. Yeah, that's the fourth time today. Yes.
Okay, I figured Jarrett had the first three, so I think I'm fine.
In hour number one, Jarrett had 3 violations of three garnerings of the explicit rating, and so you gave us one in hour number 2. So
amazing.
Nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. I think they are. And I'm like, Spain's a really, really good team. I was really happy with how the game kind of ended yesterday. It was actually really a fun game to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But
soccer on TV, yeah. England, Netherlands is on Big FOX at 3. FS1 has the Copa semifinal, Colombia and Uruguay, which is going to... Nick, you want a knife fight in a phone booth?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. That is going to be... Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Knife fight in a phone booth with Colombia and Uruguay tonight. James against El Loco. Now, I was explaining to the boss. Let me go through the rest of the TV schedule real quick. FS2 has a Can Champ doubleheader. Forge in Toronto at 7, Pacific in Vancouver at 10. Univision is simulcasting the Copa. Apple TV has the 2 matchups in Open Cup at 9 and 11. Paramount Plus has the Argentine Primera at 6:30 and 8:30. Boca Juniors and Huracan, followed by Talleres and Union Santa Fe. VIX has both the Euro semi and the Copa semi tonight. I was trying to explain to the boss about Marcelo Bielsa. And it was, I said, well, he's got the nickname El Loco. And she wondered why. I feel like Ross all of a sudden. Why is he called El Loco? And I mentioned the instance when he was a club coach and the Ultras came to his house. I want to say they were armed, Nick, if I'm remembering the story correctly.
They brought some ruckus to his door, and Bielsa showed up at said same door with a grenade.
Mm-hmm. Basically, I think they had like guns and knives and sharp pointed objects, and so he opens the door with a hand grenade.
Yeah, and essentially is like if I go, we go.
Mm-hmm. And so yes, and he has done some amazing MD -1 and -2 press conferences this entire turn. I would go back and I would watch them because he is probably one of the true poet laureates of the game. and his love for the game. I think that there are very few that you can parallel his love of the sport, and it comes across in his press conferences that he's had for Uruguay.
Mhm.
Go back and watch him. They're amazing things that he has been able to say. But yeah, Uruguay tonight. It's going to be a knife fight in a phone booth with Colombia. So, which hummus do we get? That's the question, Maddie. Which hummus do we get tonight? Do we get what are you anticipating with Uruguay and Colombia? Anything?
A bloodbath.
There you go.
No, I don't know. I mean, I think Colombia has been the best team in the Copa America. Watching them play has been a lot of fun. I think they just are so dynamic. I think Uruguay is going to try and keep up. They're going to do what Uruguay does, which is also very, very good soccer. But I think Colombia might come out of this one on top. I think it might be a 3-2. Colombia wins it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Shakira is going to be in attendance tonight as well. So
listen.
Mm-hmm.
I personally just sang.
Okay.
The World Cup, bring Shakira back to do the theme music. Just saying.
Oh.
Come on.
Mm.
What do you have against Shakira, Nick?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Not a damn thing. She beat the Spanish tax man. Are you kidding me? She's immortal.
Well, but and this is something that Maddie, Nick, is not aware of from our time with soccer over there.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to do with a lovely couple that was an item, was not an item, was an item, was not an item, and apparently now they are no longer an item. From our friends at Olé in Argentina, headline: Wanda Nara confirmed her new, in parentheses, separation from Mauro Icardi. Mm-hmm. Yesterday, from the Olé editorial board, and Olé is like, the Star or the National Enquirer or, whatever you want to call it, down in Argentina. Headline, subtitle: The model admitted that she ended her relationship with a Galatasaray striker. Copy: Model Wanda Nara confirmed her separation from Mauro Icardi, a Galatasaray striker with whom she has 2 daughters. The rumor had been circulating since last week, and the woman admitted her separation in a chat with journalist Luis Ventura, who showed the messages on air on America TV. Quote, "For personal and health reasons, I tried once more," Wanda added in the chat. However, and this is copy picking back up from Olé. However, it is worth remembering that this is not the first time that the couple, who have 2 daughters, have broken up. In fact, a situation that had a lot of media impact occurred when another model, China Suarez, was involved in an emotional relationship with Icardi. In addition, just over a month ago, Mauro posted a message for their 10th wedding anniversary. Wanda just liked it without writing anything. This Tuesday, the footballer showed images of his training at Galatasaray. Wanda is a businesswoman. She was even Icardi's representative and even negotiated his contract when he signed with PSG. She also hosted a TV show in Argentina and sells erotic content on a platform. In 2023, she admitted that she suffers from leukemia. The couple's daughters are Francesca, who was born January 19, 2015, and Isabella, who was born on October 27 of 2016. The question remains from Olé, given the background, is whether there will be a new reconciliation or whether this is the definitive separation. That is from our friends at Olé. So it's either reconciliation or definitive separation. That's what we're trying to figure out with Wanda and Mauro.
I'm not talking about Wanda and Mauro because they are both irrelevant. What is relevant is Colombia is going to put on a show because Shakira's in the house. Okay, they're going to take their game to a new level, and we will have the most epic showdown in Copa America, proving that Copa America greater than the Euros this cycle. And there's nothing anybody can do about it because the facts are on the screen that you're watching. Okay, and Netherlands. Look, Italy did their job last Euros. It's your turn now. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
We got a couple of pieces of developing stories here. Heimer Hallgrimsson, who was let go from Jamaica after their elimination in the Copa, is now your new head coach in Ireland. Jaden Hibbert is back in fold for Atlanta United 2. He got 4 matches under his belt in Birmingham. And let's see, Amanda Stavely and Merdad Goudousi are leaving Newcastle. Their 6% share will be sold as part of a pre-agreed plan. Expectation is that the PIF and the Rubin brothers are going to take those shares. No reason given as to why Amanda Stavely is leaving Newcastle. I'm trying to see if there's any other news that is posted. Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, Alan St. Maximin has now, according to Fabrizio Romanos, agreed to a deal with Fenerbahce on loan from Al Ahly. Okay. We have our crew for Atlanta and Montreal on the weekend. I'm just going to build to it. Your VAR is Kevin Stott. Your AVAR is Jonathan Johnson. Your fourth is Michael Venne. Your ARs, Jeremy Hansen and Ryan Graves. The man in the middle for Atlanta United and CF Montreal, Ted Uncle. If I had the prices right, loser horn, I would run. Exactly. So obviously on Friday we'll have the rest of our assignments. But right now, Ted Uncle's the man in the middle up at Stade Saputo for Atlanta United and for CF Montreal. So I think that's all of the newsy news that we have this morning. Maddie, you were here it's good to have you back in here, Maddie. Last thoughts before we get out of here from you.
Oh gosh. Love Copa America. Very excited for that matchup tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. Listen, it is what it is. Things will be great on the other side, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Fun day of soccer. Enjoy it. And and try to stay cool, everybody. It's hot outside. She's hot. Yes.
Nick, last thoughts from you before you go. Glad you were here this morning, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for letting me hang out. It's up to you. You elect your own level of participation in whatever sports venture or entertainment venture you surround yourself with. Okay. So it's on you to decide your level of participation. It is on the business's side to make their operation appealing for investment. So I don't know anyone up at that facility who does not want to be successful. I don't know anyone at that facility who is A-okay with how things are running. So if you are an Atlanta United fan, please don't put an idea, it's your brain, you do what you want. But I can tell you that everyone I know up there wants to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Now we just got to make sure that it's executed. And I think that's what all of us want to see, maybe in different ways. But if you are interested, not interested, then you elect your own level of participation. Cool? That's it. Other than that, please try to be nice to some of the people you interact with. That's all I'm saying. Just at least be nice to them. You ain't got to give them money if you don't want to, but just be nice to them.
One final thing. Our friends at Yosemar Football have hit another home run. I would suggest following them on social media. And if you believe in subscriptions and helping folks along, I do, full disclosure. I subscribe to everything that Yosemar does. Story out by Yosemar from Philippe Auclair and Paul Brown. And we always say, when there's always more than one name on a byline, you know that there's a lot of work that went into it, and it's probably heavy duty. 777 partners have lost control of their football operations, and attempts to sell their portfolio of clubs by Kenneth King of ACAP are under threat from injunction granted this week by a U.S. court. That's your story at Yosemar Football. Follow them at Yosemar, Josimar Football, Fotball, Paul Brown and Philippe Auclair. With that story, 777 was this close to buying Everton, and now they're being chased after by the U.S. courts. No real surprise, considering what we've been discussing about with them. We went way long, but that's because there's plenty of stuff to talk about, and that's why we do it. Once again, tomorrow, we'll try to catch up in the 9 o'clock hour with both the winners from the NPSL Southeast. Carlos Rubio has said he's coming on. Carlos Rubio has invited us to Lenore Rhine. Carlos Rubio has invited Maddie to come up and get a jersey. Carlos Rubio has invited all of us to come up and get jerseys and gear. And we are trying to figure out a way that Martin Luther can wear a jersey, but I think for tonight, maybe just a scarf. Just kind of do it like they do with the bird outside of Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Big scarf, drape it around Martin Luther there on the Lenore Ryan campus as Hickory gets ready for Apotheos. We'll track down the winners tonight, have them on tomorrow because their Fridays are going to be really busy, as is ours. 9 o'clock hour, we'll track NPSL. 10 o'clock, Nino Torres from Gold TV. 10:30, Nico Moreno, our buddy from Pulso Sports on the Soccer Bar, talking everything Major League Soccer. Friday, 8 o'clock start. Weekend whip around will be in the hour number 1. 9 o'clock, Logan Fisher, the head coach of Tennessee SC, going up against North Carolina Courage on the right-hand side of the bracket. We are chasing Detroit City and Colorado Storm and trying to get them as a part of our coverage of the USL-W national semifinals. And see if we'll catch up with our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring at 9:30. Otherwise, we'll just talk more stuff before they kick us out of the house here at 10 o'clock on Friday morning. And we head back south and get ready for another weekend of soccer. So let's see. Wow. Nick did the Irish goodbye. So, Maddie, let me see if I've got everybody. So for Jarrett, for Nick, for you, for Tyler, for everybody in the Twitch pitch, morning to, I'm not going to say hi to everybody before we get out of here too. For Carlos Rubio, the head coach at Hickory FC, for Willie Davis, the head coach of North Carolina Courage U23s. Thanks to all of them for coming in this morning. Let me see who visited the show this morning and do the Romper Room Newzoo review bit and say hi to everybody who dropped by. Let's see. No, I don't need 10 o'clock hour. I need the 9 o'clock hour. There we go. Now we're back into the 9 o'clock hour in the conversations. But no, it was a very spirited conversation about what happened last night, and I love it when we have these kinds of spirited talks. Morning, David. Morning, Ropes. Morning, Pars. Let's see. So, morning, Will. Morning, David. Morning, Tom Cato is back in this morning. Let's see. There's Ropes again. There's Will, part of the early conversation. Morning, Katie Weaver. Morning, Bart. Morning, Tommy. And morning, Unk from the West Coast. Let's see. I'm trying to see who else. So let's see. There's Bart. There's Unk. There's Pars. Tommy. Let's see. I'm literally scanning through to see if I've missed anybody in the Twitch pitch. Morning, Wiley.
All right, everybody. I do have to depart, but have a great day, everybody.
Yeah,
Enjoy
go
the
ahead. Yeah, go ahead and depart and do your thing. I'm just saying goodbyes, and I'm just scrolling through the timeline. So go ahead and do your thing. I'll see you tomorrow.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. Enjoy the Copa.
Okay, so there's Maddie. Goodbye, everybody. Enjoy the day in the Copa. So Maddie is going to do the Irish goodbye now while I try and figure out everybody else. Morning, Alex. Morning, Hutch. Let's see. And like I said, this is always important to me. Morning, Tom. Glad that Tom came in this morning, and I know that he was a part of the conversation. Morning, Rich, who came in hour number 2, and Rich was looking at everyone with what we were discussing last night, this morning with what happened last night. Let's see. I'm literally trying to scan and see if anybody else joined in hour number 2 that we haven't talked to. I think I've got everybody. Don't quote me on it yet. But yeah, Hutch, it did to a degree. I wouldn't necessarily call it MLDH, but it's just making sure that you are not, how do we phrase? Morning, Emilio. And then morning, the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, where the left coast is the best coast. Morning, Andy. You've got to keep, you can't get screwed out of a deal financially. So that's the biggest thing. So we'll be back here again tomorrow. We will keep you posted on what's going on with the water situation and figure out how we're dancing around it. Thanks to everybody who hung out as long as we did. But like I said, back at it again in a little less than 22. It's more like almost 21 and a half at this point. But for everybody here at SDH, thanks for dropping by on a very, very busy, well past Wednesday. After what happened last night, we'll be back at it again tomorrow. Thanks for dropping by. And so that means that I got to do the outro slide and the whistle to get us out of here.